This is not a werewolf story by Sandra Evans, Chapter 10. A joke with no punchline. One day, this predator walked into a forest. Bad news at dinner Sunday night. Children. Dean Swift comes into the dining hall to make an announcement. Listen, there is no call for panic, but it appears that a cougar has taken up residence near Fort Casey. 2 guards and 3 tourists have described hearing the cry of a cougar while walking in the park at dusk. The dean clears his throat. He throws his head back and opens his mouth and makes a screech like a cat screaming and a dog snarling and a ghost sobbing. The sound makes cold, sharp fingernails walk up my spine. But Mean Jack has to make a joke. Was that a wildebeest burp, sir? Dean Swift doesn't even notice the cubs laughing. No, it's a cougar, Jack, he answers, and then his face gets red and his eyes bulge because he said Mean Jack twice now instead of once. Scratch marks have been found about 9 feet up on the trunk of several trees near the road to our school. This tells us it is a large cougar and that it is actively roaming our grounds. Chances are good that it will move on shortly, but until it does, we must take precautions when we leave the building. A cougar. The word gives me a strange feeling. It's like an itch in my brain I can't scratch. After a minute, I realize it has to do with what happened in the woods this weekend. Sometimes what happens when I wear my wolf skin is hard to remember when I'm a boy. My mind scratches around, and then Vincent sits down next to me. Don't look at me, he warns. I'll die laughing if you look at me. I stare straight out the window at the water. So, I hid behind the bathroom door, Vincent says. I put on the zombie mask I told you about. My stepfather was watching the game, and he drinks a lot of beer when he watches a game, right? So I knew he'd have to go to the bathroom, right? I look at him with a face that says, yeah, you told me all this on Friday. There's a little piece of wolf worry left dangling in my head, and I'm not going to feel like joking around until I rip it off. Okay, right, I told you that. He starts to giggle. So look out the window, okay? I can't tell it without laughing if you look at me. By now, all the weirdos are leaning across to listen, and a couple of the kids from nearby tables have come over. So, he comes into the bathroom and he's unzipping his pants, and boom! I jump out at him and he screams! Vincent can hardly talk. He's laughing so much. He screamed like a wee little girl, and then he peed his pants. I can't help it. I laugh so hard I forget my wolf worries. Nobody's eating anymore. Everyone's laughing, and the story starts flying around the room. By the time it gets to the little kids' table, it turned into, Vincent's dad went pee in his pants. That's enough of a story for the cubs, and half of them are laughing so hard they fall out of their chairs and roll around on the floor. Little John ends up with nacho cheese mashed into his hair. 3 peas get jammed up Peter's nose. After dinner, I realize it's no joke. Vincent has changed everything in less than a week. Normally, during TV time, I sit in a ratty old armchair off to one side. All the other kids sit on the floor or the sofa. Nobody makes me sit where I sit, but nobody ever sits in my chair either. Tonight, when Vincent walks into the TV room, everyone shifts around a little. Mary Ann scoots closer to Jenny to make a space for him next to her on the carpet. Mean Jack punches Little John in the shoulder to get him to slide down from the sofa to the floor. Vincent doesn't notice them. He scans the room. When he sees me, he walks over and perches on the arm of my chair. Hey, he says, I almost forgot. I told my mom about you this weekend. She wants you to spend spring break with us. I can feel everyone's ears stretch toward us. Will your dad be cool with that? I nod. I can see the other kids look at me like they've never seen me before. Vincent has cool. It's contagious, and now I have it too. All the chairs are turned toward the TV as usual, but the kids sitting in them are turned toward Vincent. He has 1,000,001 jokes and stories. My armchair is the center of the room. Once or twice I start to open my mouth. I don't say anything, but I could have. I think they would have listened. Later in bed, I turn on my LED flashlight from the cereal box. I hate the dark. It was hardest when I first got here. The sound of the madrona's branches scraping the window made me think of monsters. Even now, I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, and at first I'm half asleep, and I forget that White Wolf has found me. It's a feeling like night is inside of me. Let's not talk about it. Tonight, I think I have a friend. It's a light inside me, but it scares me a little. I wonder how I can make him keep liking me. I wonder if he'll get tired of me. There's no answer to that. I take out the code-cracking book Cook Patsy gave me. Last week, I thought I'd need it to start up a conversation with Vincent, like making friends was an uncrackable code. I must fall asleep because I wake up in the dark. The flashlight is on the floor. I hear footsteps in the hall outside my room. My heart bumps. A voice mumbles. My mind wants me to run, but my legs aren't listening. A monster or a murderer jiggles the doorknob to the utility closet next to my room. The next doorknob in the hall is mine. Did I lock my door? In my mind, I see Tuffman's glowing eyes. I hear him saying my name. I can't move. I wonder if they will find my last will and testament in my sock drawer. A cold sweat covers my body. I go over the distribution of my earthly possessions. Sparrow will get my clothes and my books. Cook Patsy gets my mom's box full of recipes. I've never opened it, so they will be good as new. Dean Swift will get my shark-toothed necklace for his science cabinet. My dad, if he's not too busy to come and pick it up, will get the shoebox where I keep things that remind me of my mom. Her velvet headband that used to smell like her gold bracelet with her name engraved on the inside, and flowers and vines on the outside. A CD she used to play when she rocked me. One of her gloves that for a long time I put my hand inside whenever I slipped. Keys jangle. The utility closet door opens. I hear feet on steps. Who ever heard of a closet with stairs? I scrabble my hand across the floor until I find the flashlight. When I flip its beam at the clock, I see it's midnight. This is a strange time for someone to be concerned about utilities. I lie there for a long time. It feels like 5 hours, but the clock says it's only been 2 minutes. I tiptoe to the door and stand there with my ear to it for another 5 hours that turns out to be 1 minute. Slowly, I open my door. I look to the right. The door to the closet is ajar. I peek in and see a staircase. The stairs must lead up into the north turret overlooking White Deer Woods. From the outside of the building, it's obvious my room is just beside and below it. But from the inside, I never thought of it as anything but a utility closet. Maybe because the sign on the door says utility closet. I creep up the stairs. Somehow I know exactly where to put my feet on each step so that it won't creak. Except on the third to last one when I step dead center and the stair groans like a bowl. I stand very still. I get ready to bolt back down. When my thoughts stop crashing around, I hear a scratching sound and the rustle of papers. Someone's writing up there. Do assassins have diaries? My nose twitches. I don't think it. That's Tuffman. Eureka! A man's voice says. Perhaps the cougar saw the light. The voice belongs to Dean Swift. I hear a click like a button being pushed. Midnight, March 17th. He must be speaking into a recorder. After years of searching, I have found Fresnel's secret treatise. It is titled most tantalizingly, On the Generative Power of Light. My hunch was correct. Numerous prisms on the old lighthouse lens were never correctly installed. Using Fresnel's measurements, I have exponentially increased the power of the light beam. Is it mere coincidence that there are reports of cougar activity south of White Deer Woods? My investigation of its den on the fort grounds indicates it has been in the area for approximately 1 month. The timing corresponds with my first lighting of the lens since I applied Fresnel's secret calculations. Questions. Is this simply a predator displaced by the new housing development? Or, as per Fresnel's theories, did the light from the lens draw him to us? A button clicks. My mind is scratching around. Its den on the fort grounds? There's no cougar den in the blackout tunnel. There's no coyote den in the blackout tunnel. It's the cougars. I stretch out and peer around the low wall that keeps people in the room from tumbling down the stairs. I'm looking at Dean Swift's back as he sits at a messy desk. Every once in a while, he looks up at something in front of him. It takes a second for my eyes to adjust to the low light, but when they do, I almost somersault backward down the stairs. It's an enormous lighthouse lens, and when I say enormous, I mean it's 10 feet high and 5 feet wide. It fills most of the room beyond Dean Swift's desk. Even though I've never seen it before, I recognize it. I sneak back down the stairs to my room, my blood hot and my skin alive. I need to be sure. I lie belly down on my bed and slide the books out one at a time. There are about 20. It's my personal library on lighthouses. I pull out my favorite, Lighthouses of the Pacific Coast. There it is on page 127, a photo of the Point Reyes's first order Fresnel lens, manufactured in 1867. First order means it's the biggest kind. It has 1,032 pieces of glass. 24 of those pieces are bullseye lenses so powerful they could start a fire if they're not exposed to direct sunlight. That's a first order Fresnel lens upstairs. Everything tingles. My skin, my hair, inside my belly, my brain, and my heart. Is it mine? The question burns in me. I've always wondered what happened to my light. The books all say that the first lighthouse on the island, named Red Bluff, was lit in 1861. 40 years later, it was destroyed, and a new one was built a few miles away with a brand new lens. I've figured out that the books are wrong about one thing. Red Bluff never got torn down. It's where it always was, at the edge of the cliff, deep in White Deer Woods, where the meadow meets the cedars and the cedars meet the sea. I don't know why I'm the only one who knows about it, and I don't know why its lantern room is empty. Because none of the books say what happened to Red Bluff's first order Fresnel lens. You can't lose one of them. Those suckers cast a beam for 30 miles. I bet my wolf skin that's my light in the turret. But how did it get there? No way you could fit it up the stairs or in through one of the little square windows. There's only one way, and it makes me dizzy to think about it. The school must have been built around the lens. You know how an earthquake happens when two plates of the Earth's crust slam into each other? My school world and my woods world just smashed together. It's all connected, but I don't know how. White Deer told me the lighthouse is my place between places. It's the door I walk through to find my other self. But this school where I live was built to hold its light long before I was ever born.